With everyone sick already of the international break, we are moving straight to the big fixture of this Premier League weekend. The title decider, many are calling it. It's Jamie versus Reece. It's Man City versus Arsenal. Today we're debating predictions, team news, tactical battles, and more. Let's get it. Welcome back to the Lost in Possession podcast. Let's get straight into the episode. We'll come to you, Jamie, first. Key battles. Well, is this the biggest game of the season, first of all? And where do you see this game being won and lost?
Yes, it's got to be now. Well, since City played Liverpool, it's now the biggest game. It's kind of one of them where the biggest game just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed until we have that title decider. Then we'll look back and go, that was the key moment. If City win, beating Arsenal could be the key moment, or Arsenal beating City could be the key moment, or even a draw could be a key moment for Liverpool, for example. So I think it's obviously massive for the title race. City at home is a big factor for me. I'd be much less confident if we were going to the Emirates because Arsenal form at the Emirates is superb, but I also think City's form at the Etihad is superb as well. Key battles is an odd one because you could literally go around the whole pitch and go, that's a key battle, that's a key battle, that's a key battle. But I think the ones that I'd mainly be not concerned with, but the main ones I think we should focus on is Saka versus whoever City left back is, whether it's Ake, whether it's Gvardiol. I think Foden against whoever's Arsenal's left back, whether it's Zinchenko, or is it Kaiwa's been playing there? If I've butchered his name, you'll know who I mean. And then there's actually, I think, a massive one in the middle of the midfield on who's the best CDM in the world. Is it Rodri? Is it Rice? That, I think, will be massive because both of them don't just sit back in their CDM roles. They get forward. They're the three, I think, are the massive ones in this fixture.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, to be honest, on particularly on the right side of midfield versus the left back. Because I think if we're being honest, for me, they are the weak spots in both sides. And I think there's an argument to say they're also the strong points on, both sides have a lot of quality and depth, clearly, hence they're in the title race. But the Saka versus City left back one, for me, is a massive point. We've obviously been a little bit harsh on Saka, maybe unfairly. Arsenal fans, let us know your thoughts in the comments on that. But we've said Saka, has gone missing in big games, and maybe that's unfair. But the reality is, you want to win the league, you want to be you want to be a legend, you want to be remembered. These are the games that you have to deliver. And whether it's Ake, whether it's Gvardiol, he needs to show up if Arsenal want to win this game. Reece, for you, obviously Jamie's highlighted the Rice Rodri battle as well. I couldn't agree more. Two of the most informal or highest quality CDMs in the world. Is there anywhere else on the pitch that you think is key that we've not mentioned?
I would say that that's Jamie's spot on. I think this is a chess battle, to be perfectly honest. Rodri not being at the game at the Emirates, that was quite obvious how much they missed him there. So he's going to be key again on Sunday. And I think that's where it's going to rely a lot on Arsenal to be tactically different again in this game. I agree, Saka has to turn up. Whether he will or not is a different story. I think actually Kai Havertz has a very important role if he's going to play. We saw it last time they played City. Him adding that overload in the midfield was quite important. And he also, he was able to tee up Martinelli for the winner. And I think Havertz's role against Liverpool in the 3-1 win was also important. How he sort of, that overload distracted McAllister that helped open an opportunity. And, I think that's going to be quite critical. And it's how he deals with it, because we know that Havertz can perform when it matters.
So, Dries, do you think he's going to be? You think Arsenal are going to turn up with sort of a false nine kind of role for Havertz, and then him go back into the midfield to kind of overload it, as you sort of said, for the other games? Do you think it's going to be a similar sort of role for him, and that probably means Jesus doesn't start?
I think so. I think he's best to start, and then as the game goes on, you could probably see we want to put Gabriel Jesus into this, because Gabriel Jesus, I don't really see him doing much of the running. You can bring him on and have Havertz still playing there. Let's not forget. But I think he'll start with Havertz to try and nullify, that midfield and that passing with De Bruyne and Rodri returning. So I think that'll start with that, and Gabriel Jesus might play a role in it eventually. But I think Havertz is probably more important at this moment in time.
Yeah, I'd agree on that. And I've been critical of Havertz saying he's not up to the standard, but the reality is, in recent weeks, he has improved and he has looked the player that Arsenal would have felt like they're getting for 65 million. So I'd say I'm pretty confident Arteta will go with Havertz as the false nine. And look, the reality is he's not consistent enough, but he is a big game player. City know more than anyone what Havertz can do on the big stage, right? So I wouldn't put it out. I wouldn't rule it out at all. And I actually think if I was in Arteta's shoes, based on what I've seen recently, you can argue it's out of position, but look, he's been there and done it in that position. So I do think I'd say I'm pretty confident that Havertz will start in that role. And again, as I said with Saka, if you want a chance of beating City, you need to be dropping 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 games. So it's a big game for Havertz as well. And look, just imagine he does put in that big performance and Arsenal get a win at the Etihad. Do you know what I mean? That could be absolutely huge. Let's look at the sort of recent head-to-head records. So if I'm not mistaken, of the last 10 meetings between Arsenal and City, City have come out on top 8 times, and that's in all competitions. The 2 ones being the most recent 2, obviously one on pens in one on pens, and then one the last repeat fixture. Reece, many of you follow the podcast. Some would say you're pessimistic, some would say you're realistic. You've been critical of Arsenal and their mentality, but is this a turning of the tide potentially for Arsenal? They beat City at home earlier in the season. That's not something they'd do previously. Community Shield, maybe we're clutching at straws on that one. Are you seeing a bit of a different Arsenal side now that could actually go and beat City at the Etihad?
It's a good question, because I think the mentality is better, but I don't think they've still got it. I just still don't think they have that edge. I think if they're going to go and beat City 3 times in a season, that's almost unheard of. I think, if anything, the mentality or the edges with City, because I think they're going to want to fight back for this. There's more pressure on Arsenal to win this game in some ways, because it gets them over that hump that they haven't had. But it's I mean, look, their mentality is different because they actually are competing against the teams, but I just don't think they've got it in them to do this. I think Man City will feel like a bit of a wounded animal after that defeat in October and defeating the Community Shield, and they're going to want to go out there and do what Man City do and get the job done, knowing that if they win it, that puts them in good stead for the rest of the season. Because let's be honest, it's much more positive fixture list for them, so they want to take advantage of it now.
Yeah, I disagree slightly on your comments though on saying the pressure's on Arsenal to win. I don't think it is. I think a draw is absolutely acceptable for you. If you look at that title race pre-season and you go, we're going to beat City once and draw at the Etihad, absolutely snap your hand off for that.
Oh, million points million times would take a draw. I'm not stupid, but for us with the fixtures we have coming up, we have no choice. We have to take a draw or get a win. We have to, because I don't see us getting full marks in some other games. So yeah, we have to deliver in this one.
I guess a follow-up question for you both. Well, a follow-up question for you both. Will, knowing that, I mean, maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm just this is just my opinion, but knowing that a draw would probably be an acceptable result for Arsenal, do we think? I know we just touched on the key battles, but tactically, do we see Arteta or Pep changing this at all, or are they just going to go how they're playing, same thing, best man win?
I think you'd be stupid if they both went gun ho and went, we're going to play our game. I think that's what happened last season at the Etihad. I think Arteta tried to do that, and Pep adapted, and that's why at the Etihad. And we went, you know what? We know you're going to do this. Stones played one long ball. Haaland got it. Passed to De Bruyne. De Bruyne scored. And that was, I think, a bit of tactical naivety from Arteta and Pep knowing exactly what he was going to do. And we just changed it around slightly and did that. And I think if Arteta does that again, the same result will happen. But I don't think he will. Because I think, like Reece was saying, with the Havertz sort of role, I think that stops them doing that. And when you're away from home, you don't go gun ho, especially like when you go to the Anfields, the Emirates, the Etihads, you don't go fully for it, because if you do, you will lose. These grounds, the teams at the top, because they're so good at home, they're phenomenal at home. They are great away as well. But when you go to these places, you have to go with a bit of respect and a bit of cautiousness. Now that might be, people won't like that, and it won't be, as exciting. But you have to do it. You have to do it in these games. But I do think what you said about the draws is, out of the big six, City have only beaten United at home and away. The rest have been draws and a loss at Arsenal. So a draw is definitely not out of the cards for City, because that's what we've been doing around top sides, unfortunately, where normally we'd get 6 points off Arsenal. Like I said, with the 8 wins, we're all in a row, kind of thing. So I think it'd be stupid if both of them went, we're just going to play our game. You have to tactically sort of move it around.
Hey guys, very quick one. If you've got this far in the episode, one very small favour we ask, if you could please help us out and hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on, and as always, it's absolutely free. This means you won't miss an episode, you'll always be up to date, and of course it helps us grow the channel. Appreciate your support. Back to the video.
Yeah, this is a chess battle. As I said, the reason why Arteta played the way he did it at the Etihad last season is because he chucked it. He chucked it and he got desperate. And it was a pathetic performance. Wasn't a shock, but it was a pathetic performance. It's because he got desperate. He's not desperate on Sunday. Yes, I believe we have to get something, but he's not desperate. He hadn't chucked it. Do you know what I mean by this point? So,
well, your form before this game wasn't 3 draws in a row like it was last year.
No.
Was it? So that's sort of, you're right with that desperation.
Yeah, he'll play to his strengths. He'll play to the set pieces. He'll play, just again making sure there's that extra man in midfield, trying to nullify De Bruyne or stopping Rodri from doing what he can do. Using, the strength of the defense to cause some upset. He'll try and get Saka in the game, or he'll try and get Martinelli in the game. They'll play to their strengths, but it'll be a tactical battle. It's no real shock that the last time we played, I think it was, what was it? There was barely a few shots in, wasn't there? I think Guardiola had his lowest amount of shots since 2010.
The game at the Emirates was a dull game.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for one, also it was a massive deflection. So that deflection doesn't go in. That was a 0-0 game, and it was a 0-0 performance from both.
This is it. Yeah. Let's not forget this, is that the last we've had against City have been due to a deflected goal. So we're going to rely on luck again. We've got no choice. But it will be a chess battle. And fans might get a bit frustrated because this might end up a bit dull. But it will also show tactical.
I don't think you'll get Arsenal and City fans saying it's dull. You'll get Jordan here moaning on his group chat going, this is a crap game.
Yeah.
He'll be doing it, and the people who want to see the top of the table clash being an exciting game, they may hate it. But I think City and Arsenal fans, especially at the Etihad, I think Arsenal fans will be more dull game. I think it will be fine for the fans. I think the neutrals are the ones who are going to moan, and then you might get Sky Sports adding to that moan.
I think one thing in this match is that I'm not going to be shocked if I see Arsenal probably go man for man, but I also think, as we've seen before with both these managers, when they do try and change it, it does go wrong. And I think that's why they're going to be quite conservative with their approach. Like I said, both be tactical. I think if you offered both of them a point, they'd take it. They'd shake hands and take it.
Don't know if City would. I don't know.
I think they would. City, we've seen what City can do, but City are the only team out of these three that can afford to not win, if that makes sense. Whereas Liverpool have an all or nothing approach. Arsenal have to get results. I think City are the sort of team they can still chase you down, or are a little bit more dependent, as silly as that sounds.
I don't know. I think because we're at, because it's a 3-team title race, it's not. I think the draw is actually a much worse result. If it's just 2 teams and it's, say, it's City and Arsenal, the draw, it's like, oh, there's a point between us still. Doesn't matter. But Liverpool could be sort of, 4 points ahead of City. Something like that. My maths is bad on the fly. But it's
Currently
sort of
a point above. It'll be 4 points if they were to get a win before the game.
Add the 1, so 3 points ahead. That's a whole loss. So it still doesn't feel good enough for City, whereas Arsenal would still be in their hands completely, I think, to go and win it. Yeah. So it's a bit of a mixture on that one.
One thing we do have is our goal difference is better. City are on +35, Liverpool +39, Arsenal +46. As silly as that sounds, we could get hammered 4-0 and our goal difference will still be better. Which is a huge edge. If it's as tight as this at this moment in time.
What's happened before? City won the Aguero moment on a goal difference. It does matter.
Let's talk team news now. So we've talked obviously tactical battles. Who are the key? I guess obviously we'll look at the press conferences and any injury news throughout the week. And again, for those not following us, make sure you're following us on Instagram for all team news, TikToks, you name it. With City, let's start with City. Who is currently on the cusp of playing, and who are you really concerned might genuinely not play?
Well, after watching him go off injured, Walker, string, he's not playing. So that's a big concern because you want him against Martinelli with his pace. He's someone you want. So bit of a concern there. The other one is De Bruyne. Now, he didn't go to the international break. He didn't play the last FA Cup game either before the break. So I do feel like there is something going on that he's not 100% fit. I think he'll play, don't get me wrong. But I don't know if he is still 100% fit from that injury that had taken him out most of the season. They're the sort of big ones, and then you just got to watch. I'm just watching Stones, Foden for England because most likely Southgate's going to play him for 90 minutes again, and I'm just going to be like, right, when's one of them going to get injured? It was Walker the first game. Which one of them two is next? And that's a big concern because Southgate won't think of minutes. He'll just think of himself. And that's a very annoying factor for me as a City fan.
Reece, what about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, from an Arsenal perspective, I think we've had a lot of been more quite cautious. I think Saka looks like he's expected to play despite a little bit of an injury concern. Gabriel looks like he's going to be okay. Again, making sure that his players are sort of a cautionary, and not overdoing it. Martinelli could potentially play. He was the biggest concern, I think. Whereas others like Thomas Partey and Tomiyasu have also returned as well. So we're near enough a full strength side, which is important. And there's also rumours that it's probably too soon to say, but Timber could even make the bench. I don't know why that's important, because I don't really see how in this sense. But they've been quite cautious. I think they've bared this game in mind and have made sure that there's no risks taken. Don't forget as well, we've had another week off because we weren't in the FA Cup, so we've had time to have a little bit more time with these players and get them fit and ready. But personally, I don't really think that extra week really makes a difference. But yeah, I think City, will be gutted if Walker doesn't play.
Yeah.
Absolutely gutted, and even De Bruyne, even if they get 60 minutes out of him, 60 minutes of De Bruyne is more value than what most of the Premier League can give you on 90 minutes. So
yeah, very true. I think
adding to the Walker one, I do think we've got an okay replacement in Akanji, because Akanji does have that pace. He's not as quick as Walker, but he's up there with one of the
And
quickest sort of defenders.
he's a physical specimen. Like, let's be honest, Akanji could, all he's got to do is flick Martinelli if he plays against him, and Martinelli being row Z. So let's be honest here. He's the that's the worst thing with City, is you could be grateful that Walker's injured, then you realise you're coming up against him, and you just think, for God's sake.
Yeah, fair. I think Walker will be fine. I think he looked fine. He was still jogging and that. He wasn't limping really. So I think Walker's fine. As Jamie said on the TikTok, there is almost 100% chance that Saka will be starting. Again, if you're not already following us, make sure you're following us on TikTok. Right, let's get into it. Let's wrap things up in terms of how confident you guys are and what our score predictions are. Maybe we even go one step further and pick out scorers as well. I managed to do that on the United City game, so let's give it a go. I'll start things off as the sort of neutral in this scenario. I do think City will find a way. Obviously at home, crowd behind them, etc., and probably needing the win more than Arsenal. But I do see it being a tight game. I'll be genuinely shocked if City dominate. So I'll go 2-1 Man City. I think Saka will score for Arsenal. It might even be a penalty. For City, I think the obvious two: Haaland, Foden. 2-1 City. You heard it here first. How are you guys feeling?
I can't sound fully confident because, like I said, with our record against the top six, apart from United, we're drawing. So if I was actually going with my head, I'd probably say just 1-1, 2-2. But I'm going to stick my neck out there and go for a City win again. But I'm going to go 3-1, and I think it's going to be. I think Havertz is going to score for Arsenal. But I'd go with 3 players scoring for City, and that's Foden, De Bruyne, and Erling Haaland.
Reece?
My argument and stance doesn't change. I don't think we're good enough. I don't think we have that mentality, and I think what it is we might score, but I think when City get that head of steam, they'll get 1, they'll get 2, they get 3. I think it'll be a 3-1 City win, and I think that's just because they'll huff and they'll puff, and eventually it will hurt us. I just don't think we've got it. That could be detriment, depending on how we lose, could be detrimental to how the rest of the season goes. But yeah, gotta just take this on the chin if they do lose.
Okay, well, there you have it. It looks like we are, as a collective, slightly leaning towards a City win. We've had our say. It's time for you to have your say. Make sure you hit us up in the comments. Make sure you're following us on TikTok, on Instagram, and obviously subscribe on YouTube. Turn the notifications on so you don't miss an episode. But as always, like, comment, and subscribe. You know the drill.